Hey there, everyone. Ever feel like you're just like spinning your wheels, like you're trying to keep up with life and all that it throws at you, like all those work deadlines, family drama, and that never-ending to-do list?
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Well, today we're doing a deep dive into Thrive, A Guide to Holistic Well-Being by Dr. Saurabh Bhatia. And it might just have some answers for us.
Oh, for sure. It's a really insightful read. Dr. Bhatia starts off by introducing us to this couple, Vishal and Sonia. They're really struggling to find balance in their super busy lives.
That sounds familiar.
And I think a lot of people will relate to their story too.
Yeah, totally. So Vishal has this high-pressure job. It's just eating up all of his time. And Sony's trying to juggle her career with family expectations. They're constantly on edge. They're snapping at each other
Hmm.
and just feeling totally burnt out. It's like looking in a mirror for me.
Exactly. And Dr. Bhatia uses Vishal and Sonia's story to highlight how all this pressure can impact every single area of our lives. And that's where the idea of holistic well-being comes into play.
Okay, so it's not just about eating kale and hitting the gym 5 days a week.
Nope. It goes way deeper than that. Thrive emphasizes that true well-being means paying attention to every single aspect of your life. Your mental health, your finances, your relationships, even your spiritual side. It's all about recognizing that these things are all interconnected, like they're all pieces of a puzzle.
Ooh, I like that analogy. So if one part's off, it affects everything else. Like if you're super stressed at work, it's going to like bleed into your relationships and maybe even mess with your sleep, right?
Right. And the book points out this really interesting thing. It's about how we try to hide our struggles, especially when everyone around us just seems to have it all together. Dr. Batira calls these masks.
Ah, those masks. Like pretending everything's fine when you're actually like falling apart inside. It's like we're all putting on this big show for each other.
It is. It's a common coping mechanism for sure, but it can actually make things worse. You're not being authentic, and you're missing out on a real connection with other people.
Yeah, I totally get that. It's exhausting trying to keep up appearances all the time.
Yeah.
So how does Thrive suggest we break free from this cycle of overwhelm and inauthenticity?
Well, the book encourages us to ditch the generic self-help advice, the one-size-fits-all stuff, and instead it focuses on personalized strategies. And one of the key concepts is mindful progression.
Mindful progression. That sounds really intriguing. Can you break that down for me a little bit?
Yeah. So it's all about taking small, really intentional steps toward change rather than trying to overhaul your entire life all at once, like overnight. So, for example, if you want to start meditating, mindful progression would suggest maybe starting with just 5 minutes a day. And then you gradually increase the time as you get more comfortable.
Okay, so it's like baby steps to build like lasting habits instead of going from 0 to 60 and then just burning out. That makes a lot of sense. It feels way less intimidating than trying to change everything at once.
Exactly. And another practical tool the book introduces is habit stacking. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah. It rings a bell, but refresh my memory.
Okay, so let's say you want to start drinking more water throughout the day. Habit stacking would suggest that you link that new habit to an existing one, like something you already do regularly, like brushing your teeth. Every time you brush your teeth, you also drink a glass of water. You're basically using your existing routine as a trigger for that new behavior.
Oh yeah, now I remember. That's so smart. It takes the pressure off
Mm-hmm.
trying to remember to do this new thing all the time. Your brain's already on autopilot with the old habit, so it's easier to just tack on the new one.
Precisely. It's about working smarter, not harder. And this is where I think Thrive really stands out. It challenges that whole achieve and move on mentality, which is so prevalent these days.
Yeah, that constant pressure to be like checking things off your list and always striving for the next big goal.
Exactly. But Thrive encourages us to actually enjoy the process, savor the journey and celebrate those milestones instead of just seeing them as stepping stones to something bigger.
Oh, I love that. There's actually this quote from the book that I think really sums this up perfectly. It says, "Success should not merely be a sigh of relief upon achieving a goal. Instead, we encourage individuals to recognize various goals as endpoints in themselves, moments worthy of celebration rather than transitions to the next chase."
Yes, it's a powerful shift in perspective, isn't it? Instead of always looking ahead to what's next, we can allow ourselves to fully experience the joy of accomplishment right here, right now.
I love that. It's like actually
Yeah.
taking a moment to pat yourself on the back and say, hey, I did that,
Mm.
before just rushing off to conquer the next mountain.
Yeah, exactly. And this idea of celebrating our wins ties into another important concept from Thrive, self-awareness. Dr. Bhatia stresses that understanding our own thoughts, feelings, and behaviors is the foundation for everything else.
Okay, so Before we can even start making changes, we need to take a step back and really get to know ourselves. But what does that actually look like in practice? Does the book give us any guidance on that?
Absolutely. It encourages us to explore our own unique triggers, strengths, and areas where we might need to grow. And there are a few practical techniques and questions that the book offers for this.
Oh, that sounds great.
Yeah.
Like what kind of things?
So the book suggests things like journaling, mindfulness exercises, even just taking some quiet time to reflect on your day and just notice those patterns in your thoughts and reactions. It's really all about getting curious about what makes you tick.
Hmm. So like maybe you notice you always reach for a bag of chips when you're feeling stressed after work. That could be a clue about a trigger you need to be aware of, right?
Exactly. And once you start to identify those patterns, you can start to develop healthier coping mechanisms.
That makes sense. And that brings me to something else that really resonated with me in Thrive. The book doesn't shy away from the connection between unhealthy habits, addiction, and even nutrition.
It's a fascinating aspect of the book for sure. Dr. Bhatia points out that a lot of times we develop unhealthy habits as a way to cope with stress or difficult emotions. Think about Vishal in the beginning. He's working late every night, he's feeling overwhelmed. It's not a surprise that he's reaching for that extra glass of whiskey at the end of the day.
Oh, yeah, it's
Yeah.
like we're trying to numb ourselves out instead of actually dealing with the root of the problem. And the book points out that sometimes those coping mechanisms can actually turn into something more serious,
Yeah,
like an addiction.
right. And Dr. Bhatia emphasizes that recognizing when you need professional help is crucial. He doesn't sugarcoat things, but he also offers a message of hope. That with the right support, it's totally possible to break free from these patterns.
And what I really appreciated about Thrive was its balanced approach to nutrition.
Huh.
It's not about dieting or deprivation. It's more about understanding how the food we eat impacts our energy levels, our mood, and even our ability to handle stress.
Yeah, it is. It's about making conscious choices that nourish our bodies and minds. Remember Sonia? She's struggling with fatigue and brain fog. And it turns out that her diet is a big part of the problem. She's relying on sugary snacks and processed foods for quick energy, but it's actually making things worse.
And once she starts incorporating more whole foods, fruits, and vegetables into her diet, she starts feeling much better. It's amazing how much of a difference those simple changes can make.
It really is. And I think one of the most important messages in Thrive is that personal responsibility plays a huge role in our well-being.
But that doesn't mean blaming ourselves.
No,
Yeah.
not at all. It's more about acknowledging that we have the power to make choices that support our health and happiness. We can't always control what life throws our way, but we can choose how we respond to it.
That makes sense. And while the book emphasizes personal responsibility, it also acknowledges that we don't have to go it alone. There's a whole section on the importance of seeking support from friends, family, or therapists, and even joining communities like the Thrive workshops.
Yeah. It's that sense of connection and shared experience that can really make all the difference. Having people to cheer you on, hold you accountable, and offer a listening ear can be incredibly empowering. Remember Vishal and Sonia, they end up joining one of those Thrive workshops, and it's a real turning point for them. They start connecting with other people who are going through similar challenges, and they realize they're not alone.
Right. It's like that saying, a burden shared is a burden halved.
Hmm.
So we've talked about holistic well-being,
Yeah.
ditching the masks, personalizing our approach to change, the role of habits, and even nutrition. So what else does Thrive cover? There's got to be more, right?
Wow, there's so much more. The book also delves into some really interesting areas like motivation, spirituality, parenting, and even sex.
Whoa, okay, we're getting into some juicy territory now.
Yeah. But these chapters highlight how well-being extends beyond the typical areas we tend to focus on. It's about cultivating a sense of purpose, connecting with something larger than yourself, and nurturing fulfilling relationships in all aspects of your life.
So it's not just about achieving external success or checking off boxes on a to-do list. It's about creating a life that feels rich and meaningful on a deeper level.
Exactly. And the book doesn't shy away from the fact that each of these areas can be impacted by stress and requires attention and care. Take parenting, for example. It's one of the most rewarding experiences in life, but it can also be incredibly stressful, especially in today's fast-paced world.
Oh, tell me about it. Trying to juggle work, kids, and a semblance of a personal life can feel like a never-ending circus act.
Exactly. But Thrive offers some great insights on how to navigate those challenges and prioritize self-care without feeling guilty. It encourages parents to be present with their children, model healthy coping mechanisms, and create a nurturing environment where everyone feels safe and supported.
I think that's really important. And I think what's really refreshing about the book is its emphasis on joy. It's not just about achieving goals, it's about finding joy in the process, in the everyday moments. I really love that.
Me too. It's about cultivating a mindset of gratitude, savoring those small wins, and celebrating the journey, not just the destination. Remember that quote about celebrating milestones?
Yeah, it's about finding those moments of joy and celebrating them, even if they're not Instagram worthy, right?
Exactly. And in the epilogue, Dr. Bhatia leaves us with this thought-provoking message about continuous growth. He emphasizes that thriving is not a destination, it's an ongoing journey.
Ooh, I like that. So it's not about reaching some perfect state of well-being and then just coasting.
Not at all. It's about constantly learning, evolving, and adapting to the challenges and opportunities that life throws our way. It's that idea of embracing lifelong learning and personal development.
So even if we feel like we're thriving right now, there's always room for growth and expansion.
Precisely. And that's what makes this whole journey so exciting. There's always something new to discover, a new challenge to overcome, a new layer of ourselves to uncover.
That's such a great point. It sounds like Thrive offers a really empowering perspective on well-being. It's not about reaching some elusive finish line. It's more about embracing the journey and recognizing that we have the power to shape our own experiences.
Exactly. And while there are so many practical takeaways from the book, one thing that really stuck with me is that idea of celebrating our wins. Remember how we talked about that achieve and move on mentality? Thrive encourages us to pause and appreciate our accomplishments instead of just rushing to the next goal.
Yeah, it's like taking a moment to really savor those wins, no matter how big or small, right?
Right. So often we get caught up in striving for what's next that we forget to acknowledge how far we've already come. And that can lead to feeling like we're never enough, like we're always falling short.
Totally. It's like we're on this constant treadmill, always running, but never really getting anywhere.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to step off that treadmill every now and then, look back, and appreciate the journey.
I think that's such a powerful message for anyone who's feeling overwhelmed or stuck in that cycle of striving and never feeling satisfied.
Me too. And I think that's what makes Thrive such a valuable resource. It offers a different perspective on success and well-being. It's not about achieving some perfect state of happiness or having it all figured out. It's about embracing the messiness of life and finding ways to thrive amidst the chaos.
I love that. So if someone's listening to this and feeling inspired to dive into Thrive, what would you say is the one key takeaway they should keep in mind?
That's a great question. I think if I had to choose just one thing, it would be this. You have the power to choose how you respond to the challenges and opportunities that life throws your way. You can choose to just survive, or you can choose to thrive. And Thrive gives you the tools and strategies to make that choice a reality.
I think that's a perfect note to end on. It's empowering, it's hopeful, and it reminds us that we're not passive passengers in our own lives. We have agency, we have choices,
Mm.
and we can create a life that feels aligned with our values and aspirations.
Absolutely. And remember, you don't have to do it alone. Lean on your support system, connect with communities that resonate with you, and celebrate every step you take towards a more fulfilling life.
You got it. I think this has been such an insightful deep dive into Thrive, a guide to holistic well-being by Dr. Saurabh Bhatia. If you're feeling like you need a little boost, a little inspiration, or some practical guidance on how to navigate the ups and downs of life, I highly recommend checking out this book. And as you go about your day, I want to leave you with one final thought. What's one accomplishment you've achieved that you haven't fully appreciated yet? Take a moment to savor that success. You deserve it. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep thriving.